Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about a reason to fail the driving test, a reason that people fail the driving test, and the reason is following too closely. So basically, when you're driving, there's going to be a certain amount of distance between your car and the car in front of you. That is considered to be the following distance. Now, you need to keep a certain distance, a certain following distance, in order to drive safely. Now, I'll be telling you not only the downsides of following too closely, other than failing your driving test, the other downsides, the practical downsides of following too closely, okay? Also, I'll be telling you the proper following distance that you should be adhering to, okay? And how to measure that following distance, other than, like actually measuring it with a measuring tape. I'll show you an easier way to measure it while you're driving, okay? An easy, quick way. Now let's get right to it. The practical downsides of following too closely. So number one, if the person in front of you hammers down on their brakes and you're following too closely, there's a huge chance of an accident. There's a huge chance that you'll rear-end them, or that you're gonna have to hammer your brakes and the person behind you might end up rear-ending you. So there's an increased chance of an accident, number one, okay? Number two, if you're following too closely, you can't see as much in front of you. So if you're following, let's say you're in a car and you're following an SUV or a truck. If you're following a vehicle that's taller than you and you're following too closely, what happens is you have a limited vision for in front of you. You can't see what's going on in front of you. So let's say they switch lanes at the last second because, the lane is ending and you're driving behind them too closely. All of a sudden, boom, you look in front of you and the lane is ending. You might actually cause an accident, okay? Or, you can't see the brake lights up ahead of you. So if you're following too closely, you're already close to them. Plus, you don't get an advance notice of any braking that's occurring up ahead of you. So there's a significantly increased chance of an accident happening when you follow too closely, because you're close and because you can't see in front of them. And last but not least, the other practical thing is that you get the driver in front of you very angry, very anxious, very nervous. Everyone's been in that position where you're driving, the person behind you is following too closely and you don't like it. Because it's, you look in that rearview mirror and you see them so close to you. Nobody likes that, as far as I know. So those are the practical downsides. And what that means is that the driving examiner beside you during the driving test is going to be feeling those same feelings. They're going to be feeling nervous because you're following too closely, and they know that there's an increased chance of an accident occurring, so they're going to feel unsafe, which is like an automatic thing that will cause you to potentially fail your driving test. Now, let's go over the proper following distance and how to measure it. So the proper following distance, from what I've been taught, you should do your research for wherever you live, for wherever you're doing your driving test, because it might be different than what I've been taught, but this is what I've been taught. Generally speaking, the proper following distance for side streets and main streets, so streets with lower speed limits, is about 3 seconds. And I'll tell you how to measure that in just a second. And then when you get onto the highway, it's about 4 to 5 seconds. Proper following distance when you get at the higher speeds, the highway speeds. Now, in addition to knowing how to measure it, if the road conditions are bad, like if it's raining like it is right now, you have to increase that number. 3 seconds of a following distance on a main street, okay, on a main road, when the conditions are snowy or icy or rainy, is not enough. So 3 seconds and 3 seconds for a main street or a side street, and 4 to 5 seconds for the highway is a rule of thumb for dry, ideal road conditions. But when the road conditions are not ideal, that number has to go up. Now, here's how to measure it. Let's say the car in front of you is driving and you're following behind them, you're driving behind them. You have to start counting when they pass a certain milestone that you see. Whether it's a tree, a light post, a traffic light, a sign, whatever it is. Whenever they pass it, start counting. And you want to keep counting until you pass that same thing. That's the following distance in a matter of seconds, in a number of seconds. So let's say the car in front of me just passed a certain light post, and I started counting 1, 2, 3, and then I passed that same light post. That would mean I have a 3-second following distance. And that's how to measure it really quickly and easily. And the good thing is that when you're doing your driving test, when you know the proper following distance, you can continually measure it. Meaning, if you see the car in front of you and you have let's say a 3-second following distance on a main road, and you've determined that that's acceptable because you've done your research just like I have, and that's what I've been taught, and you say that, okay, 3 seconds is good, then you can measure those 3 seconds and you just maintain that following distance. So you don't have to continually count the number of seconds of following distance that you have. You just count it once, And then as long as you're following that same car, just keep that same following distance. Maintain that same following distance. If they slow down, you slow down. If they speed up, you speed up, obviously while still making sure to not go over the speed limit. So, you know, you're going with their flow, but making sure you're not going over the speed limit, which is another thing that can cause you to lose points on your driving test. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over a reason that people fail the driving test, and that's improper following distance or following too closely. I've told you about the downsides, the practical downsides, the downsides for the driving examiner realizing that you're following too closely as well. I've told you the proper following distance, how to adjust it for the weather, and I've also told you about how to measure that following distance in a matter of seconds, within a number of seconds, and how to maintain that following distance without constantly measuring it. I tried to go over all of the aspects in this video, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What has been your experience or your knowledge with following distance? How many seconds have you been taught? What have you been taught with regards to how many seconds is the right following distance? And how do you feel when someone behind you follows too closely? Let me know down below as a comment. Have you had any experience or knowledge with the proper or improper following distance? And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.